Ranger 8. How to choose, mount and use the ballistic caps. Hello and welcome to a new tutorial video from Steiner. My name is Michael Gast, and in today's video we want to explain how to find the right ballistic caps for the Ranger 8. To find the right ballistic caps for the Ranger 8, you will need different materials. Of course, the ballistic caps, which are optional, along with instructions, the included tools, and of course it is advisable to have a gauge with you to measure the exact sight elevation as well as the ammunition you need. Furthermore, to be able to determine especially precisely which ballistic caps you should select, it is advisable to use a light barrier or a magneto speed meter to be able to measure the muzzle velocity. To select the right ballistic caps, you need different specifications. You can consult the Seiko ballistic calculator. It asks for the muzzle velocity that we measure, but also for the sight elevation. How can we measure the sight elevation? Yes, you could estimate it, but there are also more accurate ways, and for that we use the gauge we mentioned. Basically, it's relatively simple. I measure the distance from the bottom edge of the rear-facing breech to the top edge. Then I measure the distance from the bottom edge of the breech to the top edge of the eyepiece, and the distance bottom edge eyepiece, top edge eyepiece. Now I go and divide the distance I measured at the breech by 2 and the thickness of the eyepiece by 2 and subtract that from the total height I measured. This gives me the sight elevation. That is, how high is my sight line relative to the axis of the bore. This is exactly a value that is queried in the ballistic calculator and is also very important. Now we have measured our sight elevation, we have measured the muzzle velocity with the light barrier, and we can now use these two data to insert them into the Seiko ballistic calculator to find the right ballistic cap for the Ranger 8. How do we do this? We open the app and are now in the main menu. I have already saved the profile of the weapon. Now I select the ammunition. In our case, it's the Seiko Racehead in 10.9. I enter the muzzle velocity at this point. I have already done that. In this case, 780 meters per second. You should choose the barrel length according to the barrel length your gun has, because otherwise you could get a falsified result. We save the whole thing. With the saved data, you get back to the main menu. Here you enter the distance you shot at on this scale here below, and then you receive a table. Based on the values that the Seiko ballistic calculator gave us, in our case, a drop of 60 centimeters at 300 meters, we were able to figure out the right ring for us in conjunction with the ballistic caps package insert. It was ring number 5. And now we move on to assembling that one. To do that, we remove the weather protection and use our supplied Allen to take off the top cap. Then we remove the scale and replace it with the ballistic cap. Now we have to make sure that on the calibration mark, which is attached to the tube of the scope, we also put the 100 calibration mark on the ballistic cap. Now, it's important that I don't take the original cap to mount it, but I take the cover cap that comes with the ballistic caps and mount it on the ballistic turret. And again, tighten to hand tight so the screws can't come loose. So, now I have my ballistic cap properly selected and mounted for my appropriate configuration. What do I achieve with it? The ballistic cap is on the calibration mark 100. My rifle is shot at 100 meters spot. If I now want to shoot at 300 meters, I turn the bullet drop compensator, ASV for short in German, to 300 meters and my scope shoots at 300 meters spot. Don't forget to set the parallax to 300 meters.